Greetings and salutations! Welcome to the darkest corner of the room where the stereo system lives. Today, we're going to be talking about this lovely device. It is a Sony STR-DH190 stereo receiver that I bought on Amazon for a grand total of $168 plus tax. And this thing is actually pretty awesome. I've seen these kick around on the web for a while now, and I've read a couple of reviews and stuff like that. Haven't really been able to get a lot of solid information about this little box, though. So I decided I would do a video of my own. I finally just bought it out of curiosity, to tell you the truth. So what is it? It is a 90 watt per channel, 2-channel stereo amplifier with a whole lot of different inputs on it. Plus, you can connect Bluetooth to this, so you could run your phone or your computer into it, and it just happens to have an FM radio in it. I think that's the weakest link in the whole system, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on as we roll through it. So, let's take a look at the front panel. This is where we will start. So, you have the power button here, there's a power light, and you have a speaker selector. This will drive 2 sets of speakers. So right now it's on A. So when I hit the button, it goes to B, you'll see. And then we go to speakers A and B. So it'll drive 2 sets of speakers at the same time. But remember, we're only talking about 2 channels now. And then there's off. Speakers off. And I'm not quite sure why they have this setting, because there's really no need for it. Because when you plug in headphones to the very nice 1/4-inch headphone jack here, it turns the speakers off anyway. Next to the headphone jack, we have a smaller, one of those little 3.5 millimeter jacks, or 1/8 inch, and this one is an input, so you can take a portable device like a phone with a headphone jack, or, I don't know, MP3 player. I have a couple of portable shortwave radios that have pretty decent sounding headphone outputs. You could send it out from there and put it into this amplifier if you wanted to. So that's a nice little touch. Up here next to the speakers buttons, we have buttons for the radio. Going across here, there's the display in the middle. This button right here, or knob rather, this selects your inputs. And that trilling noise you hear is my cat playing under the bed, in case you were wondering what that was. No, this isn't an episode of Star Trek, and I do not have tribbles. That's my cat. Anyway, that's the input for the 3.5 millimeter jack there. We have a phono input, yes. A magnetic phono input for moving magnet cartridges. And guess what? It actually sounds really good, and it's very quiet, and it's very well balanced frequency response wise. We have an FM tuner here, and then we have pairing for Bluetooth, and there's a light to let you know that it's looking for a device. So I guess when it's paired, you get that device there. You get some buttons over here that do different things. I haven't really got down there to see what they were, to tell you the truth. I do know that there's a direct button, which is the last one on here, and when you click that direct button, the display goes out, and then a little light comes on there to tell you that you're in direct. And basically all that is just you've bypassed all the tone controls, and you're just playing whatever source you have hooked up straight through it. So that's your front panel controls. Sony sent this with a very nice remote that takes real batteries, which is nice. They even sent the batteries. So it's not one of those flat batteries. Somebody had pointed out in another video that was a plus, and I agree with them. Absolutely, yes. The remote is very well laid out, and it has pretty much all the functions on it. This display, by the way, has a dimmer function. So you click the dimmer button, and it'll go to a darker. And then if you like to listen to music in the dark, there you go. You can turn it completely off if you want to. Pretty cool. All kinds of little creature comforts on this thing. We'll get more into the operation in just a moment. I want to show you the back of the unit. And I was really, smart and printed out a picture so I could show you. So we start over here on this side, and you will see that we do have a lovely phono input with a grounding post next to it. And then above that is the antenna input for the FM radio. There is no AM radio in this, and the FM radio is weird. And the antenna input that they chose for this particular box is one of those little tiny Molex connectors that you see on circuit boards. So it's not like you can go out and get a better antenna or build your own antenna and hook it up either through 300 ohm post leads or like a 75 ohm coaxial F connector. No, none of that stuff. It's just this little proprietary thing. And all it is a piece of wire that's about 3 to 4 feet long that you either lay out along the floor or stuff up in a window frame or something. That's it. Yes, the radio in this thing is the weakest link. And it's also a little weird because of the way you tune it. It's instead of being able to pick a frequency and like go to 97.9 to listen to the station on that or go up through the channels, you have to either do automatic scanning or go by preset. That's it. So the thing scans for the next most powerful station, and when it locks onto it, you can choose to set a preset for it or not. They give you 30 presets though, so that's pretty cool. Now, as far as the analog inputs are concerned, you'll see here that we have an out, and then 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then over here, this is your speaker connectors, and yes, your eyes do not deceive you. They are those lovely spring connectors. Sony loves spring connectors. They have them on all their low-end stereo systems, like those little all-in-ones that were popular, I don't know, about 20 years ago. I had a bunch of those in my office, and that's how you connected the speakers. Well, guess what? They carried that over to this particular amplifier, and it's a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, especially for a 90 watt per channel amplifier, you would kind of hope that they would give you something like a 5-way binding post, but it is what it is, and it was only $168, right? Right. Got to keep that in mind as we roll through this. So, we've been through the inputs. We've talked about what they do. There is an amplifier menu here, and I found this by reading the manual. Just a little hint to you guys who do reviews of stuff like this on YouTube. Read the book first. You learn all kinds of interesting stuff. So if I go in here, you'll see that the first thing that I can do is set speaker impedance. Now, they're a little funny about this. They say that you can either run 8 ohms or you can run 6 ohms. And you can choose between the two. Right? There's 6 ohms. And then if I go back up, there's 8 ohms. And, you know, I think you could probably get away with running 4 ohms on this. Because if you think about it, if you had 2 sets of speakers that were 8 ohms and then you hooked it up to speaker set A and B and drove them both at the same time, you would be running them in parallel, right? And if you did that, that would give you a 4 ohm load. So you could probably get away with it, but if you did, just don't actually hook up another set of speakers, or that might cause some issues. They just don't want the impedance to drop too low. See, like my JVC amplifier that I'm using my Dayton Audio speakers on in the living room, the ones that I've talked about in past videos, I've moved them out there. That one says quite plainly that if you use 4 ohm speakers, don't hook any other speakers up to it, which makes perfect sense. Now, if you hook 4 ohm speakers up to this and the amplifier explodes or the speakers do, I'm not responsible. It does say in the manual 6 or 8 ohms only, so, you know, but I think you could probably get away with it. So as we go down through this menu here, let me get back to the menu. It reset itself because I was going on. We have FM mode that chooses mono or stereo. It only works when you're on the FM radio. Bluetooth menu, you can choose whether this machine will wake up on Bluetooth, like if you have it paired with a device and you turn the device on, or you can turn that off. You can also choose your codec. Phono offset. This is a really nice feature. What it allows you to do is to adjust the level of the phono input to match other inputs. Like I've set it at +3. You get a 6 dB boost at most, so it comes at 0, and you can go up in 1 dB increments. So it worked fine with my cartridge there. And believe it or not, it sounds really good. Here's your balance. Let's see, this is your name in. What you do with this here is you can name your radio presets, like put call letters in or the name of the station, 8 characters at the most with a space. And you can do capitals and lowercase. And you can also rename the input. So like input 1 could become CD or whatever. You can update the system through a service port on the back. And then they tells you the version of the firmware, which is 1000. So there you go. That's pretty much the entire system there. Now, one of the things you may have noticed is that we have an out, and it seems to be related to input 4, which would almost lead you to believe that what you're looking at is a tape loop. That's not what that is. What it is, actually, is just input 4 is not fed to the out. So if you have a recording device, and I do, which is a recording CD player here, let me show you how this works. So we're on input 1 right now. Let me see if we have a little volume. You hear that? That's my neighbor cutting his grass. He always picks the worst moments to do this. So you have to put up with it. Anyway, here we go. If we play some music on CD 1, and we're on input 1. Oh, did I not put it in there? Where is it? Hang on, folks. Yeah, I'm real prepped for this video. I forgot to get my little CD with the YouTube music on it. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Get that sucker out here. Pop it over there. Go up here, put it in CD player number 1, up in the hole there. It's got to fit in that little slot. There we go, right there. It's in, yay. Then it reads the disc, and if I hit play, we should start to hear some sound. Alright, there we go. I don't know. Turn it down a little bit. That's awful loud to me. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is I'm going to click the record input on the CD player. So we're switched to input 1 and we're recording here. Let me turn that level down a little bit. Okay, you get the idea, right? Now, if I switch this over to input 4, I don't hear what's going on with input 1, but I also don't get like screaming feedback. So that's why input 4 is mated up with the record or the out there. It just won't feed back, but it's not a tape loop. Now I wanted to demonstrate that because some folks, they're not used to the old school tape loops on amplifiers and they may not understand what I was talking about. So let's talk about the audio quality on this bad boy. It actually sounds really good. It's got some nuts. They claim 90 watts per channel RMS. I'm tending to believe them. I am driving a set of Sony B3000 speakers, which I've had for quite some time. I figured it'd be kind of neat to have a Sony amplifier and Sony speakers. And these guys are a little bit power hungry, and they sound really good. I can crank them up really loud. I was thinking about grabbing my Dayton B652 Air speakers and sticking them on top over here to see what they would do. They are 6 ohms, but that would mean mixing 6 and 8, and I don't know whether I want to do that or not. Especially since this thing seems to be so finicky about impedance. Yes, I did have the Dayton Audio tower speakers in here, the 442Ts. They have moved out to the living room with my JVC amplifier. I think I mentioned that already in the video, but somebody will ask. The audio quality overall on this is actually really good. There's very little noise. That's number one. It sounds very robust. It's got good bass, nice smooth mids, and smooth high end. It doesn't sound rolled off anywhere. Nothing is sticking out. It's really a smooth sound. It has that Sony sound. Way back in the late 90s and early 2000s, I was a bit of a Sony snob. I had a lot of their equipment, and their stuff always had a particular sound to it that I liked. This actually carries it through. Now, I don't know what that is or whatever, and I realize that's useless information because unless you know what I'm talking about, then it doesn't mean anything, right? That's like a lot of them videos I watched before I bought this thing about it. A lot of guys sitting around talking about soundstage and separation of instruments and all that stuff. No, man, I care. Are there high frequencies there? Does it have good bass? Does it sound? That's all I want to know. There's no loudness on this. It's just bass and treble, which is accessible from the remote right here. Pretty simple. You get plus 10, minus 10 on that, and that's it. So far, so good. I'm pleased. I will go as far as to say that this sounds better to me than the Pioneer A10AE I had been using in here. That amplifier, it was really hard to get it where I was satisfied with the tone. Even with the tone controls, it had a loudness function. I would turn that on and off. You know, I could never get it to actually sound good. And when you did turn loudness on that, there was way too much bass and an awful lot of hiss. This doesn't have that. It's just the treble controls, but I don't feel like I need it. There's plenty of bass. It's got a lot of oomph. It's pushing the speakers. It sounds good through headphones. The headphone amplifier is nice. The weakest point on this thing is that radio. The radio is an afterthought, and it's obvious. So if you're somebody who really listens to the radio a lot and you care about that, you might not want to buy this. You might want to get a separate amplifier and then get a good tuner, or get a better receiver like one of the better Yamahas or something like that. But if you're just starting out and you just need something to plug that turntable in, this will do it, especially since you can just plug in any moving magnet cartridge and it seems to be all right. The phono stage sounds good. Now, I've only had this for a couple days, so I haven't listened to every record in my collection, okay? But from what I heard, I wasn't missing anything, and it sounded really nice, and it was low noise. So that is awesome as well. So build quality, it's pretty good too. It's got a pretty stout transformer in it, and some pretty large capacitors in there. It looks like that it can do the job and keep doing it for a while. So that's awesome as well. Now it has an affixed power cord with a little 2-prong plug on the end of it, so you're not going to be upgrading the power cord. Some people actually believe that the power cord that you hook to a piece of audio equipment makes a difference in the sound. Okay, whatever. You can't change it on this. I could care less. For what I'm doing in this corner of this room, this is more than enough. And like I said, I'm more concerned with how the headphones sound than the speakers anyway, because the speakers here are stuffed in the corner, as you can see. This is not ideal. I know that, but it's just the way it is. It's how it's set up in my house right now. So I got a deal, man. Don't judge, be nice. Alright, thank you for watching the video. I hope you found it helpful. I saw a lot of videos about this amplifier, and not a lot of them were very informative. In conclusion, I would definitely recommend this for the money. It's a good start. It's a good secondary system. It's good for casual listening. You want to play your records. You want to plug in your phone. You want to use Bluetooth, that sort of thing. This will do it. So I look forward to your comments, and we will talk again soon. Thank you for watching the video. It's much appreciated.